Is a profitable conversation more like a boxing match or more like a chess match? It can be offered that it is more like the latter, like a chess match. Let's discuss why that could be so. And something like a boxing match or overall a fight. I can impose my will on you without your consent. You don't have to agree to lose to me in the boxing match in order to lose to me. I just need to be better than you, both in general and or ideally in general, but certainly on that specific day at that specific time. I need to get you. You don't have to say yes. In a chess match, however, both competitors have to agree to play by the rules. If I'm losing in a chess match and I simply go like this on the board and knock all the pieces over, the game will stop, but I will not have won. That is no way to win. I have to consent in some sense to lose in the sense of continuing to play. I have to keep playing along even as and if I'm getting checkmated. And then beat, whatever the official terminology is. So conversation then would seem to be akin to chess in that, in order for it to be productive, I have to play by the rules of what can be called rational discourse. What does that entail? Well, for one, the words that I use have to mean more or less that which a dictionary says that they mean. For example, if I say that 2 plus 2 is what? I have to say 4 because 4, according to the rules, means that which 2 added to 2 is. If I use my own private vocabulary and I say 2 plus 2 equals blue, or I say 2 plus 2 equals 5, because for me 5 means 4, it might be right to me, but it's wrong to somebody else. I'm not playing according to the rules of conversation. So I have to use words, and the words need to, again, I need to intend them to mean right around what a dictionary would define them as. Obviously, there's some ambiguity in certain situations. For that, more words might be required. Right? And further, I need to interpret what another person says to me in light of the meaning that convention ascribes to their words, and not in light of the private meaning that I may wish to ascribe to them. So, for example, if somebody says to me, the sky is blue, but I interpret that as I'm about to steal your money, then I'm not playing by the rules of a rational conversation, which might be prudent because people don't always say what they mean, but we're assuming here, we're trying to describe or picture an ideal. What would a real conversation between people look like? In a real conversation, uh, the words have to mean what they are supposed to mean. I have to intend to mean by them what they are supposed to, according to convention, mean. Further, not only that, I have to, in a real conversation, I have to follow necessity there where it leads me. So, for example, let's say that um, me and another person, or another person and I, in a room, right, and the other person tells me that the next person who walks into this room is my uncle, right? Now, that next person walks into the room, and I surmise that person, far as what I was told, far as that is correct, that person is the uncle of the individual that I'm speaking to. How do I know this? There's no sign on that person, hopefully, that says uncle. I can't see with my eyes that that is that other person's uncle. I can't hear it. I can't taste it. I can't smell it. How do I know? Well, because I used my reasoning. Insofar as what the other person told me is correct, the next person who walks into the room will be my uncle. The person that walked in next into the room would be the object of that statement. And the term uncle would then apply to the object of that statement, to that person who walked into the room. So I kind of surmised that, and there we go. So that sort of necessity certainly appears to apply to all real thinking and all real reasoning. It's not arbitrary, it's not random, it follows out necessity there where it leads us. A good detective, for example, not even forgetting a good, just a non corrupt not entirely inadequate detective doesn't go to a crime scene and say, I want things to be like this. Oh, this is a fingerprint. I'm not going to look at it closely, but I kind of feel, I got the sense that it's that person's fingerprint. I'm not going to even bother checking it. Oh, by the way, this person paid me $20 to wipe off this fingerprint, so that's what I'm going to do, right? We wouldn't let that slide. We wouldn't say, oh, everything is subjective. Everything is just depending on preference. No. A good detective would follow the evidence logically there where it leads him or her. If I'm accused of a false charge, for example, stealing, I'm not going to say, yeah, I mean, it just depends on how you define things. You define stealing like this, and I define it like that, and you define location like this, and I define it like that. And even though in my mind I was 1,000 miles away from the alleged crime scene, maybe for you I was actually there. No, we would ardently defend ourselves. Look, here's the evidence that I was 1,000 miles away from your store. It certainly cannot have been me that stole. Maybe a long lost identical twin, but not me, or a non long lost one, a real one, or a known one. But it wasn't me because I was somewhere else. So we would follow necessity there where it would lead us. We would follow the logic there where it leads us. We would not be arbitrary or capricious, if that's the correct term. All right. So just so again with all conversation, real conversation is not simply tit for tat. It's not simply I say a bunch of words and then you say a bunch of words and then I say a bunch of words, depending on what we feel like. It's following mutually the reasoning, the logic there where it leads us. It's not always clear. It's not always obvious. The more intricate the issue, the harder it is to define terms and to agree as to what is to be meant and all of that. But it is certainly possible. And it is certainly the ideal. But again, for that, I have to cooperate, even if it means that I cooperate in my own demise here, conversationally, intellectually speaking, just like in a chess match. To play the chess match, I can't, the second I feel like I'm losing, go like this and swipe all the figures. Or I can, should we say, but then it's over. The chess match will not continue. I can't just walk away, and the chess match then will not continue. I might then lose by whatever the rules would be, but it's not going to continue. I have to stay there, and even as I'm losing. So in a real conversation, in real rational discourse, even if I'm losing, even if it is being progressively shown that the statements that I started out with are senseless, the connections that I allege to exist in reality are not really there, are strictly verbal. Right? Even as the kind of the superficiality of my claims is exposed, I have to be there. I have to remain there, and I have to be disciplined enough to stick to the rules of what can be called rational discourse. Why would I want to do that? Isn't it good to always be right? Well, the problem is that even if I walk away from a chess match that I'm losing, even if I swipe away all the pieces, that didn't make me win the chess match. I can fool myself. I can say, I would have won, even though I was about to be checkmated, but that's just nonsense. I was losing the chess match, and it's better to get a reality check. And then, if I'm a chess player, I can improve. So, just so here, if I do not cooperate according to the rules of rational discourse, and whenever I am about to be exposed intellectually, I simply start screaming, or I walk away, or I fail to follow those rules. I begin to interpret what is being said to me in non generous or incorrect terms, whatever the case might be. That doesn't make me right. Right? It's not going to help me. I'm still wrong insofar as I am wrong. Maybe I just am failing in this given conversation, but I'm right. But if I am wrong, it's not going to make me right. What it will do is guarantee that I'm stuck just in that place up and until the point that I'm willing to properly reason. Right? And that applies not only with conversations or as it concerns conversations with others, but one's own thinking. We can also discourse with ourselves, and the rules would be the same. If I have a problem, a personal problem, for example, I need to think through it in just the same way that a good, non corrupt detective would have to think through a case, in just the same way that I would try to defend myself against false claims of a crime. I have to follow the reasoning, I have to follow the steps, the necessity there where it leads me, even if it implicates me, even if it makes me look bad, even if it makes me lose out concerning some apparent interest of mine. The truth, as it is said, shall set you free. And that is correct. Right? The truth is, by truth would be meant reality as it really is. And by engaging in the reality as it really is, that may demand the destruction of certain superfluous and superficial aspects of my individuality. That may demand the eradication of certain alleged interests of mine. Right? My interest is to scam people by running the scam center and saying they want a cruise. Right? That might demand the demise of that, but it will ultimately lead to my true and higher good, which can only be based on and a product of truth, of reality as it really is. And that demands following those rules of discourse, as was illustrated by using the analogy of chess, be it as it concerns another in conversation, or be it as it concerns myself in conversation with myself. Thank you for listening.